Hello, and welcome to Seeking Heaven, the Near-Death Experience, Other Phenomena. I'm your host, Tamara Caulder Richardson, and I'm a six-time near-death experiencer and international evidential medium, as well as Christ and ultra-dimensional channel. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do. I've got a lot of great episodes. Watch the past ones. Also, if you want to be a part of my Ascension School, they are a sponsor, which is Academy of Divine Wisdom. You can see the information there, academyofdivinewisdom.com. Make sure if you also want to check out our channel store, check that out as well, seekingheavenschannelstore.com. And if you want a session with me, that is also available. So thank you for being here today. I want to jump right into our guest. Super excited about our guest. A lovely person. Today, we're going to be speaking to Lorna Byrne. Now, Lorna is a best-selling author of 8 books. She's had many experiences with angels as well as humans that are in their spirit body. And she's here to talk about her latest book, Angels in My Hair, which I do have a picture of that right here. And she's going to be telling us a little bit about that book and give you some teasers about what's going on. So let me bring her on. Welcome, Lorna.
Lovely to be here talking with you, Tamara. I'm very excited about our conversation and our chat.
Oh, me as well. And I tell you, this is one of my favorite topics is angels. And I love how you go into detail. Actually, I do a lot of reading myself and always have. And this is probably one of the best books. I know you're talking about your childhood and it just happens to come up, but you really do describe the different types of angels and the different things you're seeing. And first of all, I think that's magnificent. Number 2, I think it's really brave. So tell us this is a lot of this that I was reading. It seemed personal, but touching, and it was sweet. Why did you decide to write this book at this time?
I suppose it's a big question. It wasn't my decision to write the book because I'm dyslexic and I was considered retarded as a child, even right up to an adult. Even on writing doing Angels in My Hair, I'm still considered retarded, but I'm severely dyslexic in that way. And one thing the angels always said to me, as an infant, I always say from the moment I open my eyes, I have seen them. I don't know what it's like for you not seeing angels physically, because every human being I see, if I was outside now and somebody, came into the house or passed by and said hello, I would see their guardian angel with them as well. So all of this is normal and natural for me. I don't know what the world is like for you. And they have been my teachers, my best friends. They have been my companions. They have taught me everything I know. I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you if I hadn't kept it a secret, as they kept reminding me to do so. Because way back in Ireland, because I was branded retarded, even as a child, I was just extremely lucky that my parents didn't put me into an institution. So I wouldn't be here. I did exactly as they said. And, they have literally just taught me everything I know. And I suppose it was maybe when I was about 2 or 2.5, I'd say 2.5 going on towards 3, maybe, when I think about it. I was running around and everything like that and playing. And one day my brother came to play with me in front of the fire with little blocks my dad had made. And it was when we were playing with these blocks that our hands touched. And it was like as if, his hand went into mine or mine went into his, and it just all sparkled. It was just so incredible. And I remember laughing and feeling so much love. And it was at that time the angels said that they were angels. I didn't know they were angels till then. I just thought they were part of the family. So and they said that my little brother, had died before I was born. you know,
Yes.
and he was playing with me at the fire. So I've always kept it a secret. And then the other part of the question you asked was, you know, it must have been scary. And it was, because that was one thing I said to God, you know, what, I'll be laughed at and I'll be criticized in every way. You know, I was terrified to do the book, but I actually did it. And again, that's a real long story
Yes.
as well.
Well, so now you're speaking of Christopher, who what died after 2 weeks old, and that you
10,
were able to
10,
see
10
him
weeks. 10,
10
10
weeks.
weeks. Yeah.
Excuse me, 10 weeks. And then you said that he would appear to you as a baby, but then different ages older too. That was interesting to me.
Yeah, at times he would be in my mom's arms, you know, as an infant when she'd be asleep, sitting in front of the fire, because that was really the only light in the room was from the fire because the windows were tiny. And other times he was older than me, and even today, a few years back, he came and gave me a visit as well. You know, so our loved ones don't die. Everyone has a soul. So we're immortal, but we don't seem to realize that. We haven't connected fully. We haven't allowed that intertwining between our human self and our soul. And our guardian angel as well is the gatekeeper of your soul. And that's the
Yeah.
one angel that won't leave you for 1 second. And I love that. Not for
Yes.
1 second, even if you're in the bathroom or in the bath, but they don't look on us, you know, in any negative way. They
Right.
have just such love for us, such compassion, and to your guardian angel, it's number one. It only has eyes for you.
Oh,
That's
wow,
all.
that's so beautiful. Yes, I think most people experience some type of angel interaction where they see it as colors or lights or a feeling, or some people, I've heard the hallelujah in my ear. I saw my angels with my near death experiences. I knew they were real, but they're not human. They just have a different frequency. Maybe you can speak on that, how you see spirit beings, humans. And I love your definition of how their light is on, and sometimes it's higher and sometimes it's not so high.
Right. Um, you know, the soul of a loved one, you know, your guardian angel often calls in the soul of a loved one because we're not listening. You know, we're not, and your guardian angel is trying to guide you in every way. But the soul of your loved one, I I know that everyone, no matter what, does feel the presence of the soul of a loved one when they come in and around them, because they they remember the essence of that human being. You know, it could be a
Yes,
smell, it could be a feeling, it could be, you know,
yes,
all of a sudden you've thought of them, or all of a sudden you have, you know, picked up a book and suddenly it crosses your mind straight away, oh, Mary or John loved this book, you know,
yes,
and that is them letting you know that they're in and around you as well. And it is to kind of, you know, I'd hear many stories of people saying, you know, they could hear the voice of their loved one, you know, or they dreamt of their loved one. Or sometimes somebody will say, you know, I
right.
don't feel the presence of my loved one. I don't even hear them. I don't even dream. And I would say to them, that's because you're grieving so hard. But another person, sometimes even a stranger, might say something to you, and all of a sudden it's something that your loved one would have said. And that is where your loved one is communicating with this other person, but they're unaware of it. And they're saying what needs to be said to you know, to give you that smile on your face, you know, to touch you in a loving way. And, you know, the angels are just, how would I say, they are light, and our soul is light, but it's a different light, you know. Nowadays, even when I was seeing, we're talking about that, and downstairs, the subject came up as well. about the light. I was saying, you know, I could do wearing a pair of sunglasses even in the house because there is so much light in the place. And when I was married, when my husband was still alive, and my children, you know, walking home from the school, sometimes my eyes would run so much water and I'd have them kind of closed as much because the light was just too much, even though the guardian angels turned down that light. But there's not only light coming from people's souls or from the angels, all the different angels, but there is light coming from everything, you know.
That's true.
And again, that's another subject.
No, that's true.
I would say through the books, I give people a little bit more all of the time, you know, because I think one thing that God had said was it'll be too much. And I always remember saying, you know, what will I call you? You know, I said to God, what will I call you? You know, and I listed off a whole load of names, you know, Jesus, Allah, Holy One, all of these names. And God turned to me and just said, Lorna, what do you call me? And I always remember being so, you know, God, of course. And he said, you know, call me God because God is universal through all faiths and none.
It's true.
Yeah, you know, so that gave me confidence that day.
Yes, it's true. It is universal. Also, the one that is. Yeah, it's just it defies all explanation. You know, I find it interesting that you as a child were labeled, and especially slow. Or why do you think that is? Because so many people and so many children, even these days, are mislabeled, and it puts a horrible um, reputation on a child. Especially nowadays, they see special children, gifted children, such as yourself, as have that's a problem and want to medicate. What would you say? Luckily, your parents didn't, fall for that and treated you as just a, regular child. But what do you say about all that?
I suppose just for myself, I was labeled because the doctors told my parents that, you know, and something I never put in the books, but it is going into another book that I'm co-writing with the scientist. And that is, you know, the doctor saying, well, you know, as she grows, we may have to put her into one of those institutions, have her locked up, you know. But I don't think it's anyone's fault. It's just a misunderstanding, you know, in that way. And being dyslexic severely, I right across the board, it's you know, they didn't even know what that was in Ireland at that time, even if they knew in America, even if they had an idea, but they didn't know. So if a child showed any tantrums, you know, anything at all, you know, they were considered retarded and ignored and not listened to, or if they didn't learn how to speak quick enough, or you know, if they had problems in any way, but they're only learning human learning difficulties, you know.
Of course, that's the hardest. Well, so
And
did you
that's the
ever
hardest.
reveal this at an early age, or did you keep it to yourself?
That I was dyslexic.
Well, know that you saw things.
Oh, well, the angels were telling me I must keep it a secret. I never
Yes,
told
good
anyone.
idea at
I
the
never
time.
told anyone. And the first person I said it to was Joe, the young man I married, and just sitting in the car beside him, and you know the angels were all around the car, and I said, "Okay, I'll say it to him." You know, and I said, you know, I see angels, I talk with angels, you know, and I always remember him holding the steering wheel and just turning and looking at me and just saying, you know, only priests and nuns have spiritual experiences. And he gave me a peck on the cheek, and that was it. And I got out of the car, I went into the house, and I said to Archangel Michael, that's it, he's gone. You were
Right.
wrong. God was wrong. but God was right all of the time.
Of course. So
Yeah.
he came around.
Yeah, he didn't ask me anything else after that. He just, as time went on, and he would see that I was in constant prayer or there was something wrong. He would, you know, be nice and gentle around me and help, and wouldn't say a word. And that would be when I would be in a spiritual state. Um, and that's one of the stories I tell in the book, is where the soul of a young man comes to the house, but there was a connection made before he even died. And he would kind of pull me down, get a hold of me, in a sense. It was like pulling me down, and I could see and feel where he was. And he would just keep saying, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. So that took a long time to help, what would I say, without saying a word to anyone, but for things to happen so that he would be found, And again, I tell that story in, I think, in Angels in My Hair, or maybe it's in another book. He was murdered, which was just so, so sad. So when something like that would be going on, or when, even today, my children would say, Mom, you're very quiet, you're not saying much. And that's because I'm so conscious and connected to every human being around the world. And I'm praying for everyone, because even now, today, you can see what's happening in the world. We've so many wars, and we shouldn't be. We should be more aware of our souls and allow that intertwining to happen, of the human body and the soul, and stop killing each other and destroying the planet. It's so sad. What's it for?
It is.
What kind of power are you looking for when you have no power at all? We don't have.
No, God's got all the power. I pretty much so surrender and rely on him, or some people say her, but yeah. So I'm with you. I spend a lot of my time praying, because I feel sad for why certain things happen, like the wars or the way people treat one another. And so all I know to do is just pass it on, to God, or Christ is my guy. That's who I saw in my near-death experiences a few times. So, but it's all part of the heaven realm, Team God. But I pass it along because, a lot of people care. A lot of people are in prayer about the world changing, being better. They really are. And I think prayer matters, and it really works.
It does. Prayer is extremely powerful. That's what I've been saying for the last 15 years. It can move mountains. And if we could even pray for 1 second, one word, it's like, and once we're saying it, that one word with a pure heart, with our soul, and we're not condemning anyone else. We have to use the word differences now. We have to put our differences aside. It doesn't matter, because I know if everyone out there could see the light shining from a human being, that soul, if you could see physically that guardian angel and other angels around, we wouldn't be. There would be so much love and so much care. There'd be no wars, no hunger, no thirst. Our planet would start to be reborn again. And I do believe we'll get to that stage, because God has shown me a few of the futures. There's many. Now he's shown me negative ones where man is taking too long to make the right choice.
Right. I've noticed that.
Choice. It is free will, but they all come together. And I remember doing another podcast later, and the presenter said, well, that's really a bit hard to take, Lorna, when you say in the future, we make this world like a little glimpse of heaven, the planet is reborn again, and children can cross a river, a huge river, without a bridge. You know, she found that part hard to take, but that's where the human body and our soul had intertwined. We didn't need to build bridges anymore, if you know what I mean. And these children saw more through the eyes of their soul than I am actually seeing. You know, for that moment when the children were studying the grass, lots of us will just look at things. The angels have taught me how to see, and these children were seeing so much about that grass that people don't see anymore, because in a sense we were told, you just look at things, you know, you look around, you look at a picture, but are you seeing? Because I know if you were seeing, how would I say it? It's like the picture would come more alive. You would see every single line, every single stroke, but you would see the life within every single stroke.
Yes.
It's like, you know, when I would look at a tree or a human body, if, you know, it becomes translucent, you start to see through it, you start to see everything. I was giving a workshop here in Ireland in the sanctuary, and American women, a group of 25 or 30 American women came over, and they were here for a few days. So I was helping them to see. And I said, now pick up anything off the ground or a leaf. Don't destroy something by pulling it off something. But if there is something that nature has dropped on the ground, pick it up. And instead of just looking at it, I want you to start to see through the eyes of your soul, and just to see how suddenly after a few minutes, or I don't know how long, some of them started to see, and they were going, oh, look, I never saw this before, you know. So we have to start to connect spiritually. And you
Yes.
know, I know some spiritual teachers will say, you know, they know everything, but how could they? I'm still learning.
Of
So
course.
that's impossible, you know, in that way. So it's a process of accepting that we're a spiritual human being, that we have that soul. And again, religion doesn't matter. You know,
Right. The
it's
spirituality.
the one creator, whatever you want to call God in that
Yes.
way. And becoming aware of our soul as well, you know, as well as our guardian angel, you know, because our guardian angel is the gatekeeper. And of course, all those other angels that, you know, so many people, you know, call in, you know, but it's your guardian angel that allows all those other angels. They couldn't come around you otherwise, by the way, not even the Archangel Michael or any archangel, you know, which I love, the only one that can come
Yes.
in and around you at any time, but doesn't have to, because your soul is that spark of light of God. God is in you
Yes.
and out there as well. Your soul is so tiny, like that tiniest speck of light, but yet so enormous. I know I keep talking,
Yes.
so I
No,
better.
no, no. I'm like, yes, 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 yes. I'm in agreement with all this. I have been just spirit before, and we all have
Yeah,
actually, and I do. This is very true. I'm going, yes, very true. It's funny. I have to laugh because you're talking about nature, and it's really engulfing and interacting and asking it questions. But it was funny. My mom, took her the other day out into the to a park. She goes, "Where are we going?" I said, "Mom, it's called a park." And I said, I went and hugged a tree, and she laughed and laughed. And I said, "You're jealous. You probably want to hug a tree too." And she laughed. And then she picked her tree out and she hugged it. And so I've moved up from hugging trees to kissing them. But um, we need to be spiritually responsible not only for ourselves and for others and for this world and our communication, the love or the lack of love we put out there, but also for this world, nature, Mother Gaia, right?
yeah, yes, we have to do everything to protect nature. I think, you know, when you're given a gift and it's free, like God has given us this gift and this universe, and it's free, it's for nothing. And when you're given something for nothing, you don't see its value. You know, we've lost seeing the value of this beautiful planet. So we've been mistreating it, and we can't keep on mistreating it. You know, that angel that I have been shown that's inside of the planet, you know, has to twist and turn, you know, and does everything not to destroy life. But if we are killing the life force that she is giving to our planet and around us, she has to fight back. So we have to change, and we can change, because we can make this planet like that little glimpse of heaven. I know we can do it. You
We
know,
can.
that can happen. We just need to help. What I would say, like lots of times I would call people to pray, you know, and to pray for governments, world leaders, presidents, you know, all those that are in power in different areas, even, you know, international companies and
Absolutely.
all of that, that somehow they'll start to listen and do the right things, you know, and that's why we really need to pray as well. Now, at times I've asked for prayers for different leaders, and people will come back and say, but how could I pray for that person? You know, they've slaughtered thousands of people in their own country.
Yes.
But if we don't pray for them, how are they going
Absolutely.
to connect spiritually to their guardian angel? How are they going to feel that love and suddenly, you know, start to change their mind in a little bit, and think more of the people and more of nature, of the planet? Because life is not about material things. I know we all need material things. The world is very poor in a way. There's only some that have so much, but the rest of us, in a sense, because I was extremely poor, so I know what it's like to be hungry. I know what it's like to be thirsty. I know what it's like to be cold. I I know what it's like, you know, to be sick, or even my children sick, and
Yes.
there'd be no care for them there, or education. So poorness piles on top. It's like it's layers, you know. So we're having that issue even in the health, we're having it in education, we're having it in housing, we're having it in food, just literally everything. But we have to love each other. You know, now in
Yeah.
schools we're teaching spirituality, but we're not calling it that. We'll change the name. We'll call it well-being or caring or loving, you know, and we're teaching them all the same things: to love, to give with a pure heart and expect nothing in return, to, you know, caring is sharing, we're teaching children. So in a sense, we've got so busy about, you know, all the material things that we have forgotten, you know, to teach children how to love, you know. And a generation is growing up. Um, because I'm still meeting people that will come to the talks, you know, families, you know, could be a whole family, you know, and, you know, the blessing, and I give them a hug. And even children have said to me, teenagers, adults, I've never been hugged. No one has ever told me they loved me. I remember doing
It's
a talk
horrible.
on stage. I think there was 1,000 people there, and the interviewer that was beside me, I didn't realize she was in tears for a minute, and she was in tears because she told me afterwards. She said, "My mother has never told me she loves me, and neither have I told my mother, but I'm going to ring her right now, and I'm going to tell her I love
How,
her." And one
how
thing
healing.
and she did that. But one thing I tell people, if you have never done it and you haven't received it, don't ever be afraid. You know, sometimes when someone steps back and says, "Oh, I don't like that. I don't, you know, you're saying you love me." they're not rejecting you. It's just that they don't know how to cope with someone loving them. So they're kind of pushing back, but that doesn't mean they don't want you to say it again. So you shouldn't take that personal. You should just smile and say, well, I'm letting you know I love you. I care for you. You know, just to do it. I tell people to give the stranger a smile, because I've met sometimes a stranger that said, someone smiled at me last week when I was going off to jump into the river or off a building, but they smiled.
Stopped
I
it.
felt someone cared for me. So they gave themselves a chance, you know, and it's all about helping others and helping us to grow spiritually and to put more love out into the world. You know, good example, if you like, you know, in that way.
Yes, we all need to be a good example, but I think that so much of what I see is people that don't feel worthy of that. And that to me is a strange concept, because God loves all of us equally. And so it could have been their upbringing was bad, but my childhood wasn't exactly perfect, and I'm grateful that at one point we were very impoverished. Okay, we lived in a
Yeah.
trailer. My room was little, because now I can see it. I remember getting out of college. We had I had no money, like $20 for like 2 weeks. I can now look at people in the face and I can tell if they need money. I can genuinely
Mhm.
see, and I can feel pain, and where I've been talked to badly and harshly. Now I can see people that are wounded. So I'm grateful, because, you know, that's not who we are. That's just an experience, but we're so much more magnificent. So, you know, I tell people, if I can do it, you can do it too. I mean, it's better to choose joy than to choose going
Yeah.
back to the past and living in the pain, which is just a lesson. And so I think the biggest thing that I see, and I want to get your feedback, because you know, one of your biggest missions is talking about unity and coming together as one and trying to love each other. And I feel that people, especially, yes, I understand the media in any country is trying to spread separation for their own personal, political, career gain, whatever that may be. But we are not separate. We are all souls that go back to source. We are one. And I pray for the whole planet. I care about everybody. I don't care where they're from. It doesn't matter to me. So, how can you speak to people to understand that this separation is not real?
I suppose what would you say? When Angels in My Hair came out first, I used to say to God, well, if it helps one person in the world, I would be very happy. But it's like as if it has brought people together of all religions and none. You know, it has worked and still is this miracle that, you know, different religions are even finding it hard to understand, or different presenters in that way. And we are no different. We are brothers and sisters. This human body is only a human body. You know, we're all in the image of God because of our soul. It's that tiny speck of light, and we're all worthy. You know, I do love that word. You know, we are all worthy of love, of hope, of compassion, of empathy, and our soul is that's where our love comes from. You can never give it all away, because it remains full all of the time. And you know, we have been taught to, in a sense, to, if someone says something negative, that you take it personal. You never should take anything personal. And I know you were saying there in your conversation, you know, we're learning. I don't understand that, because I know I'm learning how to grow spiritually. You know, they're teaching me lessons all of the time, but that's on the spiritual part.
Yes.
My human part, I have to separate them both. Is like, you know, my human life is not about learning for growth. It's just my human life. It's just what the human body does. and in a sense, the way the human mind thinks, the human consciousness. But, and it's just because you were saying this, I've never said it before, but it's like, which I have to smile, my soul has overcome the human consciousness in that
Wow.
way.
Beautiful.
So I don't understand all human. I understand less of the human than I do of the spiritual. It's like
I
I,
agree.
I live
I live in
in
that world with you.
world, but the human world, I don't understand why humankind, mankind, is doing what it's doing. I can't
Either.
understand that. And it's like, you know, if I was to save everybody in the world and mankind started to separate the good from the bad and say, well, they're all bad, Lorna, we will all go with you. That wouldn't work for me because I'd have to bring what you consider bad because I wouldn't consider them bad at all because I see their soul and their guardian angel. And sometimes when someone is doing something wrong, you know, like even all those soldiers in war,
Yeah.
they're being made to go out and do that. They're being
Exactly. I
made
feel
to be cold.
sad for them. And you
You
know they don't want to
know,
be
so
there, most of them.
I would have to reach out and save them. And it's just like, you know, the child, because I was so poor at times, you know, I understand where someone has to steal something to feed their children.
Absolutely. They're
But
hungry.
that shouldn't be happening today. This is the 21st century. What are we doing? We should have, it's like instead of us growing spiritually and connecting more, we have gone backwards. And I'd have to say that is because of religion, in the sense I was raised Catholic. I know God is real. I'm afraid to tell you God is real.
Well, it's
You
great
know,
news.
yeah, God is real, and it's kind of don't wait until the last moment when your body dies to discover that, because
Yeah, good
you
point.
need to discover that now, you know, and you need to start to grow spiritually. So you're passing that on to the children. I have children come again to talks with the parents, and you know, a parent could have 4 children, and the mom and dad saying, Lorna, will you tell us the name of our children's guardian angels? I don't do that
Oh,
anymore.
you
Very
get that,
seldom.
huh? Okay.
So
A lot of pressure.
I ask the child, do you know the name of your guardian angel? And 9 out of 10 children will turn
Really?
around and will tell me the name of their guardian angel. And there's the parents standing there in shock, but it's the child's
Mm,
guardian angel's name. And it's only a portion of it in that sense, because the guardian angel's name, we could never pronounce it. It's like they have shown in the human terms, it's full of letters, you know, in that way. So it's only a section. It's like one time a man came to one of the talks, and again, the hall was packed, and he was up high, and he stood up at questions, and he said, Lorna, I have been asking my guardian angel for its name, and all this I get is no. I've been the last year, 2 years, and no, I don't get anything. And I had to smile because he was saying his guardian angel's name.
oh, please subscribe, like, and make comments, and support this channel by becoming a member. Thank you for your continued support.